to build each collection of tiles represented below using the table method. So we have to make our table, then name the collection by using the simpler algebraic expression. So we did this yesterday. It's the table thing we did yesterday. So let's go get our table made. Use the equation feature so we can use the squares. What color ink should we be using? What color ink should we be using? Lily needs to set up and start participating. Come on, honey. I know. Blue or red? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to be red today. I was blue yesterday. All right. We're building our table. We have our equation turned on. We have our color, either red or blue. We're building our table. What was the first column for the table from yesterday? So if you have to peek back at yesterday's, what was our first column on the table? What was our first column on the table? Come on, guys. What was the first column on the table yesterday? The x squared. Yeah. Come on. X to the second power. How do we get the to the again? What do I do to get there? Shift 6. Yes. Okay. What's my next column on my table? Just the plain old X's. Yes. Okay. And then I'm not going to worry about lining it up until we're done. What's the next column on the table? What's the next column on our table? Ah, is it the XY or is it the Y squared? We look back at yesterday's notes. Is it the XY or the Y squared? It's the Y squared, yeah. Y to the second power. Oops, that's too large. We want it 14s. If you notice, if you mess up and it's the wrong size, all you have to do is go back to it and change it to the right size, and it does it for you. You don't have to worry about highlighting or anything. It fixes it. Okay, what's our next column? Just the plain old Y, yes. Okay. Okay, what's our next column? XY. Okay. And then our last column is called what? Number. Now, what do we mean by number? I'm not going too fast. I'm going over what we did yesterday. So we don't have to go slow on this. We're just making a table. Okay. What do we mean by number? Yes, this is the table we did yesterday. But when they say number, what are they meaning by that? If I say number, which pieces are going to go there? What kind are going in the number one? What makes them different than all the rest? Okay. And then I'm going to go get my line feature and make my lines. So So I'm waiting on someone to answer. What are the ones that go in number? What makes them different? Why do they get to be number? What do they have or not have that makes them in the category number? We put something that's not numbers. Oh, they don't have X's and Y's. Okay, that makes sense. They're only a number, no letter 2. Got it. Okay, so remember, like yesterday, we just take them one piece at a time and put them in the column they belong to. So 3x squared, what column? We're just rearranging them. 3x squared is going to go in which column? Three x squared is going to go in which column? Come on, participate. I'm putting all these in their column. Which column is 3x squared going to? Oh, the x squared column. Yes, the obvious answer. Make sure you're back on the equation. So I have to change it over there is what I think I need to do. 3x to the second power. What the heck is that? Something different. There it is. Yeah, that'll do. Okay. Our next piece, which column? Which column for the 2? Which column for the 2? The number. Yes. So we'll go over to the numbers and put a 2. Okay. Next piece. Which column? Yep. Since it says 5x, it goes in the x column. Change this over here. So we're just rearranging them to the column they belong to. 6. Number. 9x squared. X squared column. 6x. X column. And then the 2. Number column. Okay, now that we've got it all rearranged and put on the column, right? What are we supposed to do about this? Now that we've got it rearranged and on the columns, so what? How does that help us? Oh, we combine them. Okay. So we're going to get our final answer, right? I'm going to make it blue so it stands out, and I'm going to make it bigger so it stands out because it's a final answer, right? So what is the first term for the final answer? What are we going to say about the x squareds? What are we going to do about the x squares? What are we going to say? How many x squares do we have? I see 3x squares and 9x squares. I'm pretty sure that's not 2x squares. Do we have a typo? Forget something? Because we're combining them. 12x squared. Arrow to get off the square. Okay, how many x's do we have? Because we're combining them. 11x. And then what's the total for our numbers? Not 8x, Charlie. 11x was right. 10. Okay. And then we use our pencil to mark that that's my final answer. Okay. Questions about the process? Okay, so we have 3x squared was our first thing in our first pile. 4x is our second thing in our first pile. 6 is our third thing, units. So that was one group. Now we have a 6x squared in our second pile. What's the next type of tile? A 5x, yes. And then our last type of tile for that pile, the number 3, because remember, unit tiles just mean the little tiny squares. Okay, so we have to put this onto our table. So our first piece of our table, x to the second power. Our second piece of our table, x. Third piece of our table, y to the second power. Fourth piece of the table is just the y. Then we have our xy, and we have our number. And I'm going to go shift them around. It's too hard to try and line them up right away. Just might as well write them and then fix them. Okay. And then I'm going to use my line to make the lines to separate. 1, 2. I am not worried that they're perfectly straight. I mean, they're perfectly straight, but I'm not worried that they're perfectly vertical, I should say. Just want them close. You know, they're just there to separate a little bit, give you a little bit of visual separation on what's going on. All right. So now we're going to go put our pieces in here. I'm going to be a 14 for that. What is the first piece I'm going to put, and where am I going to put it? Tell me what it is and what column it's going to go into. What it is and what column it's going to go into. So what's the first piece we're going to pick? And what column is it going to go to? The first column, x squares. Okay. So 3x to the second power. Then my next thing I'm going to put, where's it going to go? And what is it? Remember, you get participation points by participating. And if I don't see you participating in the chat, it must not be participating. Yes, our 4x is going to go in the x column. Thank you. And then our last piece for the first pile is going to go where? Which column? Number 6 is going to go in the number column. Okay. Now we're doing our second pile. What are we going to put? What are we going to put? What's the first thing for the second pile? The 6x squared goes in the first column. Yes. 6x squared. What's the next piece that's going to go? 5x is going to go in the x column. Yep. And then that 3 goes where? The last column. Okay, and then we're going to combine like terms. We're going to combine our columns. So make them stand out. I'll make them bigger. what are we going to say? How many x squareds do we actually have? Once we look at it, how many x squareds do we actually have? 9x squareds, yes. Arrow off plus. How many plain x's do we actually have? 9x plus. How many numbers do we have? 9. That was pretty funny. And then we mark that this is our final answer. Okay. Any questions about what you're going to